Hello world, my name is Danominator, and I am confused. I am not the only one who's confused. This has been a very confusing day. Some might say it's an exciting day, and I mean, yeah, you know what, it was. I'm gonna give it credit right off the bat, you know? We all know why we're here. Yes, we've all gathered here today for a very specific reason, or you wouldn't be on the video here. Chibi-Robo is a core part of my channel. And frankly, it's a core part of the things I love about video games. Like the whole reason that I enjoy doing what I do, making videos about stuff, streaming things, all of it, technically speaking, Chibi-Robo is a massive part of my identity as Danominator, if you will. And yes, before anybody comments, I am actually trying to relaunch the retrospective. I have so much more work to do on that. As you know, I've been working with the new PC to make a lot of new stuff, and once I've caught up on some things, I do plan on doing that. But whatever, not important. I'm going to stay on topic as much as I can here because I'm sure we're all still emotionally recovering from what we just witnessed. Okay, so at the time of recording, today was the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And a lot of things happened. A lot of exciting things. A lot of concerning things too. But one of the things of all time to be announced, you know, I almost feel weird making a video about it, right? Because then it's like, oh, I'm hopping on the relevancy train, gotta get them views. Ooh, have you established yourself as a full-time Nintendo critic yet? I don't really want to be like that kind of person, right? I don't want to be that guy. This is the exception, right? Because if I'm lucky, some people have been referring to me as the Chibi-Robo guy. Am I the Chibi-Robo guy? Please, shoot me a comment. And don't forget to, no, I'm not gonna say it. Shoot me a comment if you think I'm the Chibi-Robo guy on YouTube. But genuinely, some people have said that to me when they run into me on like Discord or something like that. And it's like, oh, wow, really? Me? I don't know if I'm lucky enough to go with that or to be called that, but sure. I'm not complaining, but also it's like, wow, huh? Has it really been that long where that's like my thing now? Hey, I'm not complaining if that's the case, but you can fact check me if there's a more Chibi-Robo guy on YouTube. I'm sure there is, but maybe I just haven't met him yet. I feel like I'm almost obligated to talk about this, especially because of the other Chibi-Robo adjacent stuff that I have made. So I'm gonna give my opinions on it because out of all the Switch 2 announcements that we got today, this is the most significant for people like me. Because among the things that were announced in this Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, one of them was Nintendo Switch Online, and specifically the Plus expansion pack, because of course it had to be. Nintendo Switch Online Plus is getting GameCube games. And listen, that by itself is significant enough. Okay, there have been people asking, predicting, supposedly leaking this as, you know, a thing that they were planning on doing for ages, or that it's in the works and oh, it'll be on the next console. And you know, with Nintendo Switch Online, and you've got the regular NSO, which generally equates to, I believe it's NES and Game Boy and a few other things, but it's mainly those things, right? So okay, that's got it, makes sense. And then you have Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, which the expansion pack is for like, oh, that's for a couple generations up. You get stuff like SNES and Sega Genesis, and that's like, okay, sure, that makes sense. So what would the next step evolution be in that process if it was to ever be a thing? GameCube makes sense. I'll give it that. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, it's the next thing in line. It's the next most natural thing to add. And okay, fine, sure, but there were a lot of naysayers on this, to be honest, myself included, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, with how much storage Nintendo puts on these consoles, just trying to do a Nintendo Switch Online for GameCube sounds kind of ridiculous, because oh my gosh, think about it. You're going to have to download all of these games, they're a gigabyte each, and if you actually put a decent amount of stuff on this service, you're going to have like probably 64 gigabytes in and of itself right there, you know. Well, I say that, but it's the Nintendo drip feed, so, you know, I could be totally wrong there. Well, guess who gets to take a trip down to Wrong Town today? That would be me, because they did it. The Nintendo Switch 2, and only the Nintendo Switch 2, are getting Nintendo GameCube for NSO. I am happy for those people. I've said this many a time, but I do not actually have NSO Plus. I only have base NSO, and that is because a very kind friend gave it to me, gave me a spot on their family plan, which, hey, assuming you're watching this, you know who you are, and I'm very thankful for that. But as I've said many a time, I would not buy it myself. I have no reason to. I think that subscription services are kind of a plague, to be honest, and I get it. They were going to have to do this with Nintendo stuff eventually, but just the fact that the service has been around for as long as it has, and it is still marginally acceptable. And I mean, the game perks are fine. They are technically included free with the service, and this is like how most companies would do things nowadays. Okay, fine, cool, whatever. NSO Plus is expensive. If I'm not incorrect, it's 60 or 80 bucks a year, and I cannot remember. And oh boy, Nintendo Switch 2 pricing, I can make a whole video on that, but I'm probably going to try avoiding it as long as I possibly can, because the discourse on that is going to be rampant the next couple of days. So here's the thing. As expected, NSO Plus is the thing getting Nintendo GameCube, which, okay, that makes sense. I was almost thinking if they ever did this, they would make a third tier specifically for this, which thank goodness they didn't, because that would have been horrible, right? NSO Plus might actually kind of have a decent amount of stuff now. I still would not recommend it personally when so many of these games can be emulated and actually kept. Because again, remember, this is a subscription service, you own nothing, you're technically renting these games for as long as you have the service, and then you lose them, and the save data gets locked away until you shell out another couple of monthly bucks, and I'm sorry, I just don't vibe with that. But here's the thing. Here is the thing. It's taken me 7 minutes to get to this, nearly 8. One of the games shown in the, you know, like the scrolling library that they always do with these NSO libraries to show you all these games will be available in the future. One of them was Chibi-Robo Plug-in-to Adventure. Just gonna let that settle in for a minute. Nintendo Switch 2, which has exclusive perks in the Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack service, includes Chibi-Robo Plug-in-to Adventure. Do you understand why I did not have a better title for this video? There are so many things to pick apart with this, and I'm going to try to be quick about it because we all got a lot of news to move on to. I'm sure that everybody is doing a ton of research and looking up all the stuff on the Switch that they can. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Chibi-Robo is dead. He's not dead as long as we continue to play his games and enjoy them, which, you know, hey, that's up to the user whether or not they want to emulate or try to find a physical copy or just wait and play by Nintendo's rules. Congratulations to that third category. Your patience was finally rewarded. What is happening? I'm sorry. I'm gonna quiet down a little bit. I'm gonna quiet down. I'm not gonna peek my mic. I'm gonna calm down. I'm sorry. Just saying those words feels so incorrect. You know, this is not the first time Nintendo's done a rug pull. But they have never done a rug pull like this for Chibi-Robo. This is how the Pikmin community feels when Pikmin 4 is announced. This is how the Metroid community feels when Metroid Prime 4 is announced. This is the F-Zero community when... Well, okay, they actually are getting a game on NSO plus GameCube as well, so, you know, I guess that is an apt comparison. I just wish they'd get a new game. Anyway, this does not happen. This is a very unusual thing, okay? For those of you who don't know, this game, Chibi-Robo Plug-into Adventure specifically, is a very weird case for this service because it has technically been owned by multiple companies. Like, multiple companies had a hand in it. It was Bandai and Skip Limited, who I guess this kind of confirms their fate. We'll get into that in a minute. And Nintendo, because Shigeru Miyamoto had a hand in it as well. This doesn't just happen. Like, Bandai Namco, I'm sure, has a great relationship with Nintendo. You know, there's very clear evidence of that. You know, Pac-Man and Smash and a whole bunch of other stuff and all that. Chibi-Robo is a different beast, people. This does not just happen on any random day. The fact that this game was shown in the sizzle reel alongside Mario Sunshine, Fire Emblem, Pokemon, Mario Strikers, that is not a normal thing. This game came out at the tail end of the GameCube's lifetime. It had almost zero marketing. And the Wii came out shortly after and completely overshadowed it. Plug-into Adventure was the only game that got a new Play Control Wii version that didn't release in America. It only came out in Japan. So I guess at that point, Nintendo assumed Chibi-Robo to that point, or at least this first game, was only popular enough outside of America. This does not happen under normal circumstances. And it's cool, right? I'm happy for these people. I'm super happy for you guys that have been playing by Nintendo's rules and not emulating and just waiting for whatever thing you want from them this whole time. I'm so glad that that is being rewarded because I want more people to play Chibi-Robo. I want people to like the things they like. But I am so confused for multiple reasons. Number one, out of all of the games you could have chosen to show off in this little reel of scrolling GameCube titles, Chibi-Robo is extremely niche compared to the rest of them. Even compared to like a Pokemon game, like Pokemon XD, that, you know, that's technically a niche Pokemon game. It's still Pokemon. People know what that franchise is. They're sure as heck gonna play it. But Chibi-Robo is a very small 5-game franchise. This does not happen with something that small unless the company putting the games on the service knows that there is a dedicated fan base for it. And we have been very vocal. All right, there were people who wanted Chibi-Robo in Smash. I could say that I would have loved that, even though, you know, it's it's Chibi-Robo in Smash. Like, how weird does that sound? Technically, he's a spirit in that game. But that was the last time Chibi-Robo had acknowledgement of any kind from Nintendo. Being a spirit in Smash. That does not exactly give you high praise or a trophy, okay? That being a spirit in Smash is the equivalent of, well, having a PNG of yourself in a video game. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's the first weird reason. Number two, Skip Limited is deceased. I'm not sure if anybody knew this, but it has been talked about in my previous videos surrounding Chibi-Robo. The team in that team split up and founded a new company called Tiny Wonder Studio, and they're working on a game called Chibi-Robo, which is a spiritual successor that has no involvement to do with Nintendo. Weird reason number three. We're getting a lot of games lately and you might be surprised how many, I'm gonna rattle off a few in a minute here, that feel like Chibi-Robo likes, or Chibi-Robo adjacent. They have certain Chibi-Robo-ness to them. They're ringing a Chibi-Robo bell. I'm running out of metaphors, you get my point. This is unusual because we have Pikmin 4 on the Switch, a game which, to my personal opinion, does a lot of things similar to how Chibi-Robo does. Again, this is something I mentioned in another video a while back. And not only that, we've seen the rise of Chibi-Robo likes from other studios. We got Tinykin, which is kind of a mix of Pikmin and Chibi-Robo together. You're exploring a tiny house, or this is how flabbergasted I am. I'm mixing up words. You're exploring a giant house as a tiny person, doing tiny person things. Then we got Chibi-Robo coming out, which is literally made by the people who made Chibi-Robo, and we have games that are directly inspired by it, like Hey Park Boy, which I believe is still in development, and Miska Tiny Tail, which is coming out soon. Why is Nintendo choosing this time of all times to show Chibi-Robo off in an official direct? What is happening? Does anybody else, have I properly laid out, have I put the puzzle pieces together enough to where you've seen the final picture and it's like, whoa, that is weird. I mean, look, this is Nintendo. They do left field stuff all the time, but I'm again, I want to say, I'm happy for people who have never had the chance to play this game and might run across it now because of this service. On the other hand, this is Nintendo throwing a bone to people who like niche games and putting it in the online subscription service. Why would you do that? I believe I even talked once about this very idea of Nintendo bringing this game over to the Switch. Not like this. I'm pretty sure I said I wanted it to be the opposite of this, where it's, you don't actually own the game, but this means Nintendo or Bandai Namco, this means that any one of them has had the game this whole time, and they're choosing now of all times to release it in this very weird climate where other people have kind of taken up the mantle, including the people who made the original game. Do you think the people working on Chibi-Robo, the original producers and creators and designers of the original Chibi-Robo game, this very same one that we're talking about, do you think they knew about this before the Direct? Because I can almost guarantee they didn't. And that is the part of this that has me very, very concerned. I don't want to assume anything, because it isn't correct to do so, because there's still a lot of information coming out about all of this, and apparently this was one of the few things that didn't leak. You know, there was always rumors and thoughts about Nintendo GameCube stuff coming to NSO, and so like, hey, that was technically true all along, very cool, right? But like, just, sorry, I'm dropping stuff because I'm, again, just, I feel like I'm still recovering from this information. Do you think that anybody who originally worked on Chibi-Robo besides Miyamoto was asked about this? Do you think they're aware? I don't want to be that person, but it feels like somebody's word may have not been gotten with this whole thing. And look, I'm gonna be honest, it almost makes sense, okay? For those of you who don't know, the last Chibi-Robo game, from what I understand, had minimal involvement from Skip. It was made by Vanpool. They've made a bunch of like third-party feeling Nintendo games, I guess you could say, for a while. And it's cool, right? I guess it makes sense. But like, think about it. These guys worked on Chibi-Robo for 5 games. The last one, we actually got an interview during Ziplash's sale period, right? Where there was a ton of talk from these guys who put their heart and soul into the Chibi-Robo game, saying in an official interview on Nintendo's website, this might be the last chance for us. because the games weren't selling well. All right, Chibi-Robo was snubbed basically every single time he tried to make a big splash on the GameCube, on the DS, on the 3DS, and Ziplash failed. And now, nobody knows who Chibi-Robo is. I know the dedicated community who does, and there's a good chance a good few of you are watching this. And if that's the case, I'm sure you're emotionally recovering the way that I am. But I've been keeping up with them today as well, and a lot of people are really excited. I'm technically excited too, and that's so weird to say, right? Like, what do you mean technically? I am excited. I am excited for people, but I really, really hope that the developers of this original game were at least made aware of this. I mean, look, Nintendo could be using this, and this is another point I wanted to bring up anyway, so let's go into it now. This could be Nintendo gauging interest in Chibi-Robo. This is not the first time they've done this. I'm pretty sure that because the Nintendo Switch Online app, like the applet in the Switch home menu, it can actually dedicate, or it can track like how long you've played each game in one of the NSO apps. So, you know, like for Game Boy or NES or SNES, or in this case, GameCube, you know. I believe that there's a couple missions where you can earn like profile icons for your Switch. And one of the missions at any given point could be, hey, play this game from NSO for a certain amount of points or a certain amount of time, or clear this part of the game, and then you will be granted access to these profile icons. I'm pretty sure that I did that once, and you know, that gives me enough evidence to think that, okay, Nintendo can track how long people have played each game in the NSO libraries on Nintendo Switch. So, there is a very good chance that Nintendo is gauging interest to see if people want to see Chibi-Robo again in a new game. Or, this could be nothing, and they're just doing it for nostalgia's sake. That's fine, whatever. But if they are gauging interest to see if Chibi-Robo deserves a new game on the Switch, that is weird. Because now, we live in a post-Ziplash world where Skip has disbanded and come back together. Multiple people have come back together to form a new company where they can make something Chibi-Robo adjacent, but, you know, legally distinct from and original to itself. We live in a world where indie studios like those making Misk a Tiny Tale are close to releasing a Chibi-Robo-like, and Nintendo themselves are making other games where you are small in a big world doing cool things, and that is most of the gimmick, is that you are small in big world. This is weird, right? I'm happy because there are a lot of people who are going to be introduced to the game through this. There are a lot of people who refuse emulation. And I understand why. It is a very legal gray area. I've always understood that. I said that many times in quite a few videos now. And I'm glad that the people who, again, are playing by the rules have been rewarded. And it is a good thing, right? It's a good thing overall. But I do hope that this doesn't spell any concerning things for the future or any ill will, because this is, you know, for lack of a better term, it's a little unusual, because we pretty much all assumed that Chibi-Robo was going to be held up in the future entirely by its community. And now Nintendo is kind of giving us a hand up again, and it almost feels like teasing, because we can't buy the game. The physical copies for this thing are still going to be extremely expensive, and Dolphin is right there. I recorded my entire playthrough of the original game on Dolphin. You know what I mean? I could have also played it on my Wii, but the resolution wasn't super great, so I went with Dolphin instead, and it made for a much clearer image that made for a much better video. And it's just kind of bittersweet to me, because I'm like, man, they've gotten us this close, and they're stopping there? NSO? Really? Is this where the other franchises go now? I don't know. I think a lot of my interest in the this whole thing with the Switch 2 has kind of been weakened by the pricing of everything, and I'm thinking, man, that's a $450 console with $70 to $80 games and a very expensive higher subscription tier, and that's where you're putting a franchise that has been beloved for so long by a dedicated group of people? Really? Because, like, let's be honest, a lot of the people who are going to play this are going to be those who are already fans of Chibi-Robo. There will be new people brought in, but I'm really wondering how many new fans are going to be brought in from this. I hope there will be. Of course I do, right? How could I be? I would be crazy not to want this for them. But I kind of want to wait a while and see how this thing develops. I'm sure, given a good few of you have actually come to this channel through the video where I talked about being done buying game consoles. I'm sure at least 4 of you are waiting with bated breath to see if, like I said in my video, this console determines whether or not I buy a new video game console ever again. I made a pretty bold claim there, and man, I tell you, I'm gonna have to think about it. That's my temporary answer for now, because there is a lot to consider here. I'm not sure if this is the Nintendo I want to support right now. And again, I'm gonna do some thinking on it, and seeing Chibi-Robo again is cool, but I can just tell you now, unfortunately for me, I'm always going to recommend running it through Dolphin, because you can keep the ROM, you can play it on whatever is most convenient for you, and you don't need a monthly subscription service to play it. Again, value is in the eye of the beholder, I'm sure, but this is just how I personally feel about things, so it's going to be real tough for me to just accept this, you know? So, thank you for watching. I have many future projects to share with you in the near future, so please look forward to them. There will definitely be Chibi-Robo adjacent stuff like the retrospective, and I know I talk about it all the time whenever I make one of these, but it will be coming. And I'm gonna take a nap. I'm gonna take a nap, come back tomorrow, realize how much of this was not real, and then come back out of denial and realize that it actually was, and feel very weird for a while. Oh, this has been a week. Thank you so much for watching. This is Dan Ominator signing off. See you later, Ominators. Until next video. Spread the happiness.